First, I really want to honor everyone who's here today. The people under both tents are here for the same reason. We all care about women. We all care about babies. We're all on the same team. I never thought that I would do something like this, that I would become a birth advocate. To me, birth was nothing more than the unfortunate, miserable, horrible means to a baby. I thought that it would hurt. I thought I would deal with it and I would have what I had always wanted, my own baby. The product of a difficult childhood myself, I promised my baby that no matter what, I would love him, that I would be there for him. When they told me that I needed a cesarean, that my baby was in distress, I accepted. I remember watching as they lifted him up over the operating curtain. I caught a glimpse of his black hair and they carried him across the room and he was screaming these loud, uncontrollable screams, one on top of the other, and I wondered what was wrong with my baby. And every instinct in my body demanded that I get up, that I go to him, that I fulfill my promise to him and simply be there. I couldn't. I was tied down. My uterus was sitting outside of my body. There was vomit dripping down my cheek. I listened to him scream and I wondered what was wrong. The cesarean had been for distress, but they said that he was vigorous. They said that his APGAR was 9 out of 10 is a good APGAR. My son was not in physical distress. My son was in emotional distress. And they were doing things that didn't matter. They were measuring him. They were cleaning him. They took his footprints. Can someone please explain to me why footprints must be taken at the moment of birth? Why you can't wait an hour? Why this, his first breath, his first sight, his first touch was like this? When finally they gave him to me, I said, thank you. I had exactly what I wanted. I had my healthy baby. The birth didn't matter. The birth didn't matter. I told myself that every single night. I said it as I cried myself to sleep. I was afraid to go to sleep. I had nightmares of being tied down and cut open. They didn't only come to me at night, they came in the day in flashes. And no matter how hard I tried, and I really, really tried, I couldn't snap out of it. The tears would not go away. So I started to learn about birth. If I had been a little smarter, I may have learned about birth before I went into labor, but I didn't. What I learned amazed me. I learned that my cesarean was not necessary. I learned that when a baby is in distress, there are many things that can happen besides cutting a woman open. I learned that in a true emergency, a decision to incision time is 30 minutes. Mine was an hour and a half. I learned even that the things that I had asked for, like to be allowed off my back, may have helped his distress. I learned that our cesarean rate is 2 to 4 times higher what the World Health Organization considers acceptable. I learned that cesareans happen more often in for-profit hospitals than in non-profit hospitals, and I understood that my cesarean was not necessary, that it wasn't my fault. But all of this understanding did nothing to stop the tears. It didn't do anything to knock me out of the post-traumatic stress. And so I rationalized that if a cesarean had done this to me, a natural birth would fix me. And I fought for my natural birth. I got to 8 centimeters, and I wanted to keep going. And that doctor, she told me that I needed a cesarean, and I said, no, I need another doctor. And the second doctor told me that I needed a cesarean, and I said, no, I need another hospital. But no other hospital would take me. I was cut a second time. This time was necessary. It was necessary because of complications from the first cesarean. Inside of me, the doctor found more adhesions than she had ever seen. Adhesions from the first cesarean. They were holding my uterus in place. They were stopping it from working. She put a sort of a sheet there to stop adhesions, to make it so that I might be able to give birth naturally in the future. I had pushed so hard, I had tried so hard, I had pulled a hole in my uterus, a window. And I am grateful to the doctor for saving my life. I'm grateful to the miracle of modern medicine. Please understand that when I say what I'm going to say next, which is also that I am angry. I'm angry because if they hadn't cut me the first time, I wouldn't have needed to be cut the second time. I'm angry because I cannot feel my belly. It is cold and numb from nerve damage from an unnecessary cesarean. I am angry because my 2 boys might not suffer from celiacs if they had not been cesarean born. I am angry because I would be $20,000 richer today if I didn't have to pay for an uninsured, unnecessary, and unwanted cesarean. And I am not unique. My birth is not so different than anybody else's out there. I didn't fall through the crack of an otherwise perfect system. The truth is that our maternal health care system is broken. We spend more than any other country in the world on maternal health care, but our odds of dying are greater here than in 49 other countries. It's become so bad that Amnesty International has declared our maternal health care system to be a human rights crisis. A human rights crisis here in America for our mothers and our babies. How can this be? When we face death, when it is our lives on the line, nobody has the right to tell us where, how, and under what terms we face this battle. No one. Pregnant a 3rd time, I went to the doctor and I said, I don't want to be cut. The doctor told me that although the hospital didn't technically ban VBAC, the rules and restrictions around it essentially made it impossible for me. I said, no, I understand, I might need a cesarean, I get it, I probably will, I can accept it. All I want is a trial of labor. All I want is to try. She said that if I were to walk into the hospital in labor, I would be cut. Because I live here, because I do not live in one of the 10 states in this country where women have no choice but to labor in a hospital or at home unassisted, I had a choice. Because legislators like this believe in women like me, because they stand behind my right, my constitutional right to bodily integrity and privacy, I had a choice. And I chose a midwife. I chose the most wonderful midwife. The midwife did all of the same things that the doctors had done, but she spent an additional 2 to 3 hours with me every single time we met. She helped me to face my fears. The nightmares went away. She taught me what to expect from birth, what to expect from my body. And I began to see that I had a mistake. I had a role in the 2 cesareans. I had expected someone else to deliver my baby for me. I wasn't planning on giving birth. I thought that someone else would do it. And I began to realize that birth is not different than any other bodily function, that the miracle of modern Western medicine can breathe, they can help us eat, they can defecate, they can deliver our babies, but the truth is that it is easier, more pleasurable, and more efficient when we do it on our own. And I began to look forward to this birth, not just as a means to a baby, but as an experience in and of itself. I watched the videos, I watched the hypnobirthing, the Russian water birth, and I thought that I would give birth like that. I imagined that I would be graceful, that I would open like a flower and a baby would just emerge. I was wrong again. I screamed. My mother, she said that I sounded like a rhinoceros. I flailed around the birth tub. I pooped in the birth tub. I whined. I begged for drugs. And that midwife who I thought was so wonderful, she brought ice chips. Ice chips are not drugs. And it was hard. It was harder than I had imagined, and I couldn't do it anymore. I broke. I surrendered. And when I did, the most incredible thing happened. Something that any woman who has ever given birth on her own terms will understand. Where before there was pain, now there was pleasure. It was the most exquisite pleasure I have ever felt. And I wasn't myself anymore. I was part of God, and God was me, and it wasn't a baby that was moving through us. This was the future. It was generations and generations, all their dreams and defeats and glories and fears and joys. They all came together. They were tangible. They converged between my thighs in this shining black ball of hair. And I watched as she whooshed out of my body, and there in the water was this blue and purple mer baby. And I waited for someone to do something with this baby, and nobody did. And I realized that nobody was reaching for her because that was my baby. And first contact was mine by right. And so I reached for her. And instinctively I did what every single uninterrupted mother from the beginning of time has done. I held her to my left, to my heart, to where the first sound that she would hear is the steady and familiar rhythm of her home. Birth is difficult. We know this. Birth is dangerous. We know this. It's becoming more dangerous. Our odds of dying have doubled in the last 20 years. We need birth leaders. With all due respect, love, and appreciation for midwives, midwives are not our leaders. With all due love and respect and appreciation for legislators, legislators, you are not our leaders. With love, respect, and appreciation for doctors, you are not our leaders. Our leaders can only be, our leaders must be the women on the working side of the vagina. Our leaders are the women who face the battle of birth. The women whose lives are on the line, whose babies' lives are on the line. Our leaders are the women who return from birth. Their healthy babies in their arms, whole and uncut. The women who say, I have seen birth, I have given birth, and I loved it. The magic in a midwifery model of care is that it doesn't claim to deliver our babies for us. The magic in a midwifery model of care is that it trains women to be these leaders. It is because of a midwifery model of care that we have the knowledge that we need, the courage, the power to face birth. It is because of a midwifery model of care, it is because of midwives like you, that women like me will face this, the most important women's rights issues of our time, and succeed. Thank you.